your two wives don't stop Christ from relating with you perfectly.
To marry a second wife.
It's not a sin actually to marry a second wife because you have two wives.
It doesn't stop
relating with your God. It's you and your two wives that you have two wives. God is not aware that you have two wives. You're the only one who knows you have two wives. With God, it does not exist. It's of no relevance. You and God still have a vibrant, active relationship with your two wives and children. To help your mind further, they came to Jesus and they said to Jesus, there was a particular man who married a wife. He died. The wife married the second brother. He died. Then the same wife married the third brother. He died. Till the seventh brother. They asked Jesus, whose wife will she be on the day of the resurrection?
7 people married her.
7 people married her. Jesus said, there's no such thing on the resurrection. There will be no wife, no husband. However, you cannot be a bishop. You can't occupy the office of a bishop because it is not exemplary. But in the church shop, go with your two wives. Go with your children. As much as you can, stay in harmony with your two wives. And you must get rid of sin consciousness. Yes. You're saved for time and eternity.
Abel Damina said, it is not a sin to have two wives. He's a pastor in Nigeria. He said it is not a sin to have two wives. But my problem is, I don't even know if it's a sin or not. If it is not a sin to have two wives, why are our pastors not preaching it? Why? I always tell you people, I am not a Bible scholar. But as I see him, I go to bring him. He said it is not a sin. Just be in harmony with your wives and with your children. And then go to church. That is between you and your family. It has nothing to do with God. God does not care if you like marry 5 wives. My problem is, if it is not a sin, why are our pastors not preaching it? Exodus 21 verse 10. Me, the day I saw it in the Bible, if ye decide to take 2 wives, I said, I'm going to ask question. Some new pastors wanna be. One never finish reading Genesis. Now me, they come for. Hey, Rita, no, you are a baby Christian. I said, oh. It's a better mean a baby Christian too. Because the only one that has stood firm in arguing the Bible with so many Nigerian pastors. Is he a baby Christian? You sure so many women say, me, I'm coming to talk about second wife because I am a second wife. Oh, she baddest. That's not the second wife. Who will not marry me a second wife? You know one thing I know about Nigeria? And Nigerians, we don't like the truth. At all. We don't like the truth. But don't argue with me. Argue with Abel Damina. That is why I have tagged them.
My brother, your two wives don't stop Christ from relating with you perfectly.
To marry a second wife.
It's not a sin actually to marry a second wife because you have two wives.
It doesn't stop
God. It's you and your two wives.
You are once again welcome to Evangelist Imakalo TV, Treasury of Excellent Knowledge. I am your serviceable servant, Evangelist Imakalo. As I announced last time, 2 days ago, my Facebook page had been suspended, and many of my videos, more especially my videos on cutting the serpentine tongues, which I have made from part 1 to part 44 prior to the suspension. So they deleted from part 16 to part 44. I could only see part 15. I don't know even whether the subordinate parts from 15, whether they are still available or not. So that is what I'm facing. I'm streaming rightly from YouTube. So you can use this opportunity to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, announce this YouTube channel to others until the Facebook will be restored. I will continue to stream on YouTube alone, and that makes my YouTube to be the channel that has all of my teachings completely, while Facebook is missing some of my teachings due to the from time to time suspension from Facebook. So apart from the deleted videos from Facebook, the ones I have streamed day before yesterday, this one, and the upcoming ones until the suspension will be over. All of these videos will not be available on Facebook. So that is the importance of subscribing to my YouTube channel. Also share my video to announce it to others who will come to benefit from the content of this channel, which is Evangelist Imakalu TV, Treasury of Excellent Knowledge. On my YouTube, just go through my name as you can see it on the screen, Evangelist Imakalu. Then, for the topic of today, is polygamy a sin? From points of reality, is polygamy a sin? This is a question that demands answer, a question that demands an answer with absolute clarity. And family barrister Rita Ame is the one who has asked this question. And this question is very, very pivotal, and I have to answer it. So while I was playing the video, I was advertising my book with the topic polygamy and its problems. Now, let me go into analyzing the video. Abel Damina, first of all, said, my brother, that is using a brother as an example, reaching to the whole world, saying that you can go ahead and marry 2 wives, that God does not even know whether he marries 2 wives or not. That is, according to Abel Damina, God is not aware and is not interested about who marries 2 wives or not. That is the first lie, which Rita herself could not detect. I am answering primarily to Rita Ame, then to the rest of the world. That is the first lie. Why is it the first lie? Abel Damina, to cover his lie, says that when Jesus was asked about who will finally be the husband of a woman who married up to 7 different husbands, one at a time, and from the same lineage, then Jesus said to them, and this question was asked in regard to in heaven. Jesus said to them, in heaven, there is no marriage. And that is an answer with clarity. In heaven, there is no marriage. So nobody will marry the woman, and nobody marries anybody. Whether to marry 1, whether to marry 2, whether to any kind of marriage does not exist in heaven. Because the purpose of marriage is to continually reproduce humanity. While the older people are dying, the younger ones are being born. The younger ones are successors of the older people. That is the reason for marriage. And marriage means legalization for sex, for formation of families, and for serving the purpose of God on earth. So in heaven, there will be no death. So nobody will die and nobody needs any replacement. So those who will go to heaven are those who have passed their exam from earth. Nobody will be born in heaven who will not pass his own or her own exam on earth to go to heaven. So it will be a cheating to those who have suffered on earth to make it to heaven. I'm just disclosing the wisdom of God. I'm laying the preamble for me to come to it at the point. So Abel Damina lie for not explaining this. And according to the quotation of Rita Ame. That quotation, I will show it when the time comes. From the book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 10, that the day she saw it, she was surprised. Rita, my sister, you saw it, you read it, but you have not understand that Bible. For the fact you saw it and confirm that God says, if he wants to marry two, which means God is really aware about on who marries two and who marries one. While Damina had lied that God is not aware or God is not interested whether you marry one or two. While God is really interested, that is the first lie. I'm just laying this foundation of preamble so that I will give a convincing answer with clarity to Rita Ame and to the world as a whole. Because the way Rita has sounded in this video, she is sentimental in the sense that Abel Damin, according to her, is the only one who has stand firm to be preaching and teaching and defending the Bible against the rest of the Nigerian pastors, according to her. And she asked a question, if it is that polygamy, which is marrying two wives or more wives by a man, is not a sin, why is it that the Nigerian pastors are not preaching or are not promoting it? That is the explanation of her question. Why is it that Beldamina is the only one promoting it? And to Rita, the rest of the pastors had been wrong. Only Beldamina is right. That is where she brings in her sentiment. Why will she believe that Beldamina is right and those other people are wrong? Why don't her believe that all of those people are right while only Abel Damina is wrong? Then what is Rita's basis to justify Abel Damina against the rest of the Nigerian pastors who do not promote polygamy? And her basis is because she just saw it being written in the Bible. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. The letter is the written notes, the written text of the Bible. That is the letter. But the spirit, as we are talking about, is the revelation. What is God revealing from what is written? What is the mind of God? What is the will of God? That is the spirit. What is the interpretation of the Holy Spirit? These are the areas where I will explain step by step. You will get me correctly right. Abel Damina is not preaching the word of God. This teaching is not from God. It is not from the Holy Spirit. This teaching is from the mind and the interest of Abel Damina. So this teaching is based on human doctrine. There are three basic kinds of doctrines. God's doctrine, or you call it the Christian doctrine, or the true doctrine. The true doctrine based on the revelation, the power, and the will of God through the Holy Spirit. There is human doctrine. God's doctrine is aimed at achieving God's will, God's interest, God's purpose. Human doctrine is aimed at achieving human will, human interest, and human doctrine. Rita is in love with polygamy. That is her will, that is her interest, and that is her purpose. And that is exactly what Abel Damina is promoting for her. She is just one. Abel Damina is teaching and preaching human doctrine. I want to say it again. Abel Damina is a gambler. He is gambling to be gaining more popularity to be accumulating false relevance to himself and to win the hearts of the majority of his listeners against other preachers. How does he do that? Abel Damina will use 80% of the truth of the gospel to expose and debunk false ministers of the gospel. That is true. Then he uses 20% of his lies to downplay the integrity of Christianity, to downplay the good teachings of the genuine Christians, to downplay the influence, the popularity, and the relevance of the genuine ministers. So that makes people to begin to identify other false ministers. Then they begin to withdraw from them and begin to pay attention more especially to Abel Damina. Then for Abel Damina not to be dragging the audience with the genuine Christian teachers who first of all begin to fabricate false preaching to downplay the teachings of the genuine preachers. And when he does that, the majority of his listeners become confused. And Barrister Rita, I am not trying to insult you, and I will not insult you, but you are confused, yes. You are confused. And you are blaming Nigerians for not being real, for not wanting to face the reality. But in this video, you are not facing the reality. Because if you are facing the reality, you are. If it is a sin, how? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you willing to listen to the voice of reality from me? I will explain how it is a sin, or how it is an axis or a channel for sin. I will explain. So Abel Damina is fighting to win almost everybody to his side. If there is no opposition, if there is no clear refutation from elsewhere against him, and that is the reason I am making this video. And some videos I have been making not only against him, against the secular people, and against some manipulative religious leaders like Abel Damina, and those who are outrightly false in every ramification. Barrister Rita asked whether, according to her, some people began to call her a baby Christian for not understanding the simple truth and reality of this context. Then she asked if Abel Damina is also a baby Christian. My answer is yes, and that is the right answer. Abel Damina is a baby Christian in the sense that he cannot be absolutely real. Abel Damina is a religious fraudster. Abel Damina is a fabricator of deceits which appears to be truth, which appear to be real, and the people are falling for it from every corner of Nigeria, Africa, and the diaspora, the Africans in diaspora, all of his listeners from all over the world, with foreigners, people of other continents who listen to him. So people are really falling for his antics, but it is not for me. I cannot fall for it. and I will never fall for it. Let me continue to explain. Abel Damina is struggling to win the heart of the majority of the listeners of Christian teaching. And when he succeeds doing that, he will begin to market his own gospel of prosperity. He will begin to exploit the people strategically. What he is doing now is just watering the ground to set the stage until he becomes the center of attention for all listeners of the Christian teaching. And the people will begin to believe that he is real when he is not real indeed. Because he mixes truth with lies. 80% of the truth, 20% of the lies. Let me go to that text which Barrister Rita has quoted. Let me go to that text. This is Exodus chapter 21. I will begin it from verse 7 so that we'll first of all understand the context. Say, if a man sells his daughter to be a maid servant or a bondwoman, she shall not go out in 6 years as men servants do. The context is, if a man sells her daughter as a slave girl or as a house help or a fully sold slave, so as an apprentice, God says that the woman, the apprentice girl or the slave girl, will not be free just like male apprentice. So this issue is more of apprenticeship. He said the apprenticeship, after 6 years, if it is a boy, the boy will be settled. The boy will go free to and acquire knowledge, and some money will be given to the person to go and open his own thread of anything he had learned. But God says it is not so with the girls. They should not be settled that way. Then I read on verse 8, Exodus 21, verse 8. He said, if she does not please her master, who has not espoused her to himself, if the girl is not pleasing to her master, for her master to marry her, he shall let her be redeemed. To sell her to a foreign people, he shall have no power, for he has dealt faithlessly with her. So the man should allow her. The man should allow her to continue to serve others. Another person can employ her. She continued to serve under another man, even to the extent of the man being a foreigner. And according to God, the man who first has her as a slave, her first slave master, had practiced unfaithfulness for not marrying her. if she's a good girl. Oh. Verse 9. And if he espouses her to his son, he shall deal with her as with a daughter. So if the man give her house girl or her female apprentice as a wife to his own son, then the man will be treating her also as a daughter, which means the privilege of a family member will be given to her. That is due requirement. So she will no longer be treated as a slave starting from then. So she will be treated as a proper daughter-in-law by the man. She will be treated as a proper wife, as a legally married wife. So the issue of slavery in that transaction is, it should be over at this point. Now look at the focal text, the focal verse, which is verse 10. And if he marries again, her food, clothing, and privilege as a wife shall he not diminish. If he marries again, so whether the man marries that girl or the son of the man marries that girl and decide to marry another woman on top of her, making it two wives, he said her clothing, her food, and her privilege as a wife, he shall not diminish. So the man is responsible to be taking the due care. Both to the first wife and to the second wife. So it is not about marrying the second wife, then begin to maltreat the first wife for any reason. And God is here using material provision as an example to establish his rule of justice, fairness, equity, against partiality, against injustice, against maltreatment of any kind, against the first wife or even the second wife. That is the rule God has established in that focal verse. So, verse 11 says, and if he does not do these three things for her, then shall she go out free without payment of money. So, if the man fails to treat her with equity, with fairness and justice, the wife can go, because the man is practicing unfaithfulness. When we go through the Bible context, indeed, unfaithfulness in marriage is not just limited to sexual unfaithfulness. Maltreating one another is a practice of unfaithfulness. Bad treatment from a woman to her husband or from a man to her wife is unfaithfulness. So when we go through the Bible context with this issue at hand, unfaithfulness at hand, the woman may decide to divorce and go free. Nobody will hold her accountable. Now, the key question is: polygamy a sin? Is polygamy a sin? Yes, polygamy is a sin. How? Why did God permit it here? God permits it on permissive will, not on perfect will. God never instituted polygamy, but God is speaking to the Israelites in the Exodus, because these are the people whose father, whose forefather he had called Abraham. Then they were people mixed up with social, cultural influence with God, whom they have come to embrace. So they brought polygamy from their culture, from their communal culture, into their work, W-A-L-K or W-O-R-K, into their work, into their relationship with God. They brought their polygamy culture into it. It is not the will of God for them, but they brought it and decide to go with it. Polygamy is a problem. It is an act of going away from the perfect will of God. God made it one man, one woman. That is what God had instituted in marriage. But human beings, for their different reasons, they began to practice polygamy. So, how is that polygamy a sin? It is first of all going out of the standard and the will of God. But it is a pardonable sin if the man can meet up with God's rules that govern that polygamy. Then the man will not be judged for practicing that polygamy. It becomes a sin when the man, first of all, even after God has forgiven him, it becomes a sin when the man begins to practice this unfaithfulness. That is number one. Secondarily, polygamy may not directly, polygamy just as a marriage may not directly make a man to miss his stand with God. But I can tell you that the man will definitely miss his levels of stand with God. The reason is that there are problems that emanate from polygamy. There is no polygamy without problems in it. So those problems, polygamy will become the channel for eruption of problems, for eruptions of family problems inside of that polygamy. There is no polygamous family without problems that emanate from polygamy. So those problems will become distraction, will become the trap, will become the sure reason why the man will be committing sin, while even the woman will be committing sin, even to the extent that the children born in the polygamous family will be committing sins due to the problems they are into, problem they cause themselves, not problem that God caused for them, because God does not cause problem for anybody. And polygamy leads to sinning, in the sense that there is no man anywhere who can marry a woman, who can marry two wives and treat the two of them equally in everything. The issue of this material provision is just a blueprint of God demanding equity from every ramification. The man cannot treat the two of them equally in terms of giving them attention, in times of giving them sexual activity, in times of loving the inside of his heart, he must have a preference. Someone among the two he prefers above others, and that becomes a sin. So what God uses to judge the man and nail the man down is his impartiality inside of that polygamy. Then, in the process of managing the family of polygamy, problems will be coming, jealousy, lots of things will be popping up. And for him engaging to settle, that regular settling of problems being provoked, God will no longer relate with him. God have substitutes. Anything God had wanted to use the man to accomplish in life, God will just raise a substitute and begin to use that substitute. The work of God will keep on progressing. It will make the man not to go so far with God as God has originally planned for him. So these are the kinds of these are part of the disadvantages of polygamy. So God is really interested. Ebeldamina is lying that God is not interested. God permit this polygamy on permissive will. That is how the people wanted it. That is how the people behave. So God gives humanity freedom of choice, freedom of decision, but holds them accountable. God holds us accountable. Anybody who wants to practice polygamy can go on practicing polygamy, but certainly the person is accountable to God. So the way the life he lives inside of the polygamy will become the person's downfall. It will be the problems of the polygamy will become the man's downfall. And in most cases, it implicates the women, it implicates even the children. So Ebeldamina is wrong. Those Nigerian pastors who do not promote polygamy are right. And I am happy that Barrister Rita made it clear that she is not a Bible scholar, which means it is up to you, Barrister Rita, either to humble yourself to learn and face the reality. If you have to face the reality, God is allowing them unpermissive will. That is how they have chosen. That is how they have decided it. Yet they are accountable on how they manage that polygamy. So what will implicate them is their mismanagement, their misconduct inside of the polygamy. Polygamy is an absolute distraction from godliness. According to Ebeldamina, he said the members can practice polygamy, but not the priest. That is a lie. What is good? How do they say this adage? What is good for the guy is good for the ganja. If God does not permit the priest to practice polygamy, that is God saying that polygamy is not of him. So the members can practice it. That is Ebeldamina is preaching what the members love, what they want to hear. You know, people will come back to complain and say Christianity religions are the problems of Africa. But while I am telling you the truth, you will not want to face the truth and reality. You want to exhibit your biasness by preferring to believe falsehood, because those falsehood promote what you are lusting after. Barrister Rita is interested in polygamy. It may not be her directly, but she is a type that promotes polygamy, and it is more especially for her business purpose. it is not for the purpose of God. Likewise, Abel Damina. Abel Damina is promoting polygamy for his own business purpose. His aim is to preach and teach what the majority of the people love hearing, and not what God wants them to hear. What God wants them to hear is a kind of the content of this book. Polygamy and its problems. Polygamy and its problems. This book is loaded, very powerful. So you have to read this book. After reading this book, nobody, not a Bedamina, not anybody will begin to preach anything or teach anything to you. See everything so laid bare. Polygamy and its problems. And from here, you can see how polygamy attracts many sin and continually attract many sin. It makes the person to lose focus with God, to lose focus with many things. All of the people who practice polygamy, even though a lot of them still made it in the Old Testament, but there was always problems that detracted the level they should have gone with God, including Elkanah, with Hannah and the Penina. All of them, Jacob, family problems, Solomon, all of them everywhere. So, polygamy and its problems. Polygamy is a sin of living in permissive will. It is pardonable. It is not a sin that can never be forgiven. So those in polygamy, God can forgive them for engaging into the polygamy, but God will never forgive them for mismanaging the polygamy, because mismanaging the polygamy means sinning through polygamy, and that sin will be the factor for their downfall. May God bless you. Anyone who can reach out to Barrister Rita Ame should share this video to her, so that she will be sure that someone like me has spoken in regard to her question for polygamy, whether it is a sin. Is it anything wrong with it? Many things are wrong with it. Polygamy and its problems. It is available in Amazon. Buy your copy. If you are at Aba, my bookshop is at #1 Comprehensive Road by Uchobuago Street. Go there and get your copy. Go there and get your own copy. Buy as many as you can. Share with others. Read it. Know the content. May God bless you until I come your way once again. I remain your service.